Joining us now on Sports Talk ATL for the first time in a few weeks, Big Low Kuntry. Big Low, it's football season. It's officially the Falcons have arrived at training camp, and it's the best time of the year.
Man, I'm loving it, Bo. I'm loving it. So I don't know if y'all can tell I'm standing up because I've been so hyped about football. I had to go get a standing desk. So I got my standing desk going on and everything. And hey, man, I'm just ready to go, Bo. Lock and load, man. Let's go, man. Let's hear some pass pop.
So this is a different kind of training camp, right? Because you have a new head coach, new quarterback, tons of questions. Like typically, I think the training camp in the preseason for us football junkies is always an exciting time of the year. But I think for the average football fan this year, if you're a Falcons fan, like this is like everything. Every day brings something new. Whether it's Michael Penix, Kirk Cousins, Zach Robinson. What's the thing that's really getting you going about this year's training camp?
Whenever I heard Jesse Bates say that him and Kirk Cousins watch film together, and it's one of those cases where, they're looking at, what, they're asking each other what they're seeing, two guys on the, different sides of the ball, they're basically establishing themselves as the leaders of the teams or the leaders of their own, respected sides of the ball. That got me going, Bo, because, I mean, how many times we heard, I be doggone. We got. Like I said, you see Jesse Bates and Kirk Cousins working together. It's like they're establishing a whole reputation of, hey man, we just gonna come in and work. We're gonna work together, collaborative effort. I'm loving it. I'm like that. That's what got me going.
All right. So there's an answer to this question. There's a right answer to this question I'm going to ask you, and it's who is going to break out in 2024, and it'll be apparent in training camp. Ooh. Not break out like, he's a contributor, like break out on a national stage. And why is it Drake London?
Okay. Oh, you threw me a little bit of curveball with that one, Bo.
I'm just tired of people talking about Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. They were taken in that draft as well. Like, nobody's talking about Drake London, and I don't know why. Like, this guy has superstar potential. I don't know why nobody's talking about him on the national stage. It's going to take a couple of weeks for him to put up a couple hundred yards, couple touchdowns, and everybody's going to be like, oh, yeah, that guy was a first-round pick, top 10 pick right there. All he needed was somebody who wasn't a tomato can throwing him the football.
Thank you. So you know what I hope Drake London's theme song is for this training camp? Let's give them something to talk about. And I mean, but you make a lot of valid points though. I mean, he's one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL. He's huge, but he's 6'4", 6'5". Yeah. Had the most contested catches with a small amount of targets because we ran the ball.
We weren't throwing it
most of the time. Yeah. So it's like, just imagine what he could do whenever he has an experienced quarterback that can actually get him uncontested targets. Because the big thing that, we talked about Drake London whenever he was a rookie was, hey, in USC after the catch, this guy was a monster.
Mm-hmm.
He was a yak monster. So, now hopefully we'll get a chance to see some of that. We'll get a chance to see some catches and 15, 20-yard runs. That's what I'm excited about.
That's what I'm pumped for.
From one potential star receiver to another in Kyle Pitts, what are your feelings about Kyle Pitts and what to expect? I mean, obviously injuries plagued him over the last 2 seasons, not just in 2022 when it ended up ending his season, but I didn't think he looked right all of last season. Then we talk about quarterback play, which we just mentioned for Drake London. This is obviously the most pivotal year of Kyle Pitts' playing career since he was a little kid, right? Like this is how he's going to get paid. He goes out there and has a big year like he did as a rookie. He might become the highest paid tight end in football. Are you expecting to look like rookie Kyle Pitts with Kirk Cousins, or is it somewhere in between? Like what are we going to get with Kyle Pitts? Is he going to be that star for the Falcons, or have we kind of reached this area where maybe injuries have taken their toll and he's never quite going to look like he did as a rookie?
First of all, everybody in the comments, y'all let me know if y'all heard what he said when he said from one star wide receiver to another. Did you just say one star wide receiver? I'm just trying to
Listen, he's going to be the highest paid tight end, but you know how they're going to use them. And listen, Arthur Smith used him. Zach Robinson already said, they're going to use him as a wide receiver more. But I think, Arthur Smith was already. This is the versatile weapon. I mean, we talk about positionless basketball all the time when we talk about the Hawks in today's NBA. It's the same thing in these pass happy NFL offenses. You need these kind of versatile weapons. They're the game changers. Kyle Pitts, Drake London can be a star wide receiver. Kyle Pitts changes games, right? Like that's the guy that has the potential to be a game changer for this Falcons offense. Can he do it?
I am so high on Drake London. Like he could be the number one guy. And I think Chase is just talking about receiving options in general. Kyle Pitts, everybody expects Kyle Pitts because I think,
I think London's one.
Everybody saw what Kyle Pitts could do his rookie year. He nearly broke the franchise or the league record for a rookie tight end. But like I think that Drake London, just in terms of a receiving core, it's going to be Drake London and then it'll be Kyle Pitts. And that has nothing to do with the health or anything. I just think Drake London is a bad man. He's a bad dude. It just has been – he hasn't had the opportunities. I mean, he's literally catching balls from career backups, guys who are now going to be career backups in Desmond Ridder. I mean, I'm excited about Kyle Pitts. I hope he's healthy and everything like that. I can't stop talking about Drake London. I really can't.
The thing is, I agree with you. I think my point was more like Kyle Pitts is the X factor to this thing. I'm expecting all those things from Drake London, but I think those things just from what we saw over the last 2 years should be expected. I don't know what to expect from Kyle Pitts. So I think more than the game changer, I think the X factor. And I just think what Kyle Pitts can do out of that tight ends and the versatility of him can add so much more if he can be, the Kyle Pitts we saw as a rookie. I don't think he needs to catch for 1,500 yards or will, but can he get back to where he's catching for 1,000 yards with Kirk Cousins? And if he can do that paired with Drake London, you have a dominant 1-2 punch. Bijan Robinson, obviously in the backfield, and Darnell Mooney as your number 3 option. I mean, that's when all the weapons are clicking, right?
Oh yeah. And go back to your point, to answer that question. Like, yes, you're completely right. Like, this is the most important, season of Kyle Pitts' career. And I mean, I think, the most important question is answered with the quarterback. But I mean, we also got to remember he's probably going to be fully healthy this year. After you come back from those ACL and PCL injuries, even after you're cleared to play, you have that psychological block because your body or your mind doesn't necessarily trust your body. And I mean, we've seen a couple of times Kyle Pitts, he kind of pulled up, running some seam routes and things like that. So I mean, I feel like with all of the circumstances that everybody knows, I say football is just like life. The circumstances kind of help determine where you're going to be at. And I feel like these circumstances, with Kyle Pitts being healthy, having Kirk Cousins, having some other weapons, because remember when he had 1,000 yards before, I remember I suited up a couple games. I think y'all suited up too. So, it's one of those cases where,
that's a really good point. That's a really good point. That we talk about, this is the best quarterback that Drake London and Kyle Pitts has had. That's true. This is probably, we're running it back with the same offensive line, but 1 year removed from Matthew Bergeron's rookie year. Drew Dahlman's probably gotten a little bit better. Chris Lynch's this is the best offensive line those two guys have probably had. Bijan Robinson, Darnell Mooney, and the Ray McLeods and the Rondell Moores. This is probably the best skill position group that they've been surrounded by.
Best offensive coordinator.
And we're waiting to see if this is the best offensive coordinator that they've had. That's a really good point. That Kyle Pitts and Drake London, this is going to be a. All right, let's go to the other side of the ball because that's where the concerns start. I have been very outspoken that this offense is going to be a top 10 unit, and if Kirk Cousins can replicate what he was doing last season, this will be one of the best offenses in football. I mean, literally one of the best offenses in football. I'm not trying to blow smoke. This defense has more question marks than answers. I mean, who's going to be who's next to Arnold Ebiketie on the opposite side? Who's opposite A.J. Terrell in the secondary? Who's opposite of Jesse Bates at the safety position? This training camp, all of the position battles other than wide receiver 3, which, I think most people would expect it to be Rondell Moore, maybe Ray McLeod. Everything is on the defensive side of the ball, where all of the starting position, the second linebacker position next to Caden Ellis is up for grabs. There is position battles at every single level of the defense, and there's a lot of questions.
Look, no lies have been told. I don't know if y'all ever used to watch Batman. I used to watch Batman animated series on Fox whenever I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
One of his arch rivals was the Riddler. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Yes, sir.
And this defense has more question marks than the Riddler suit.
Yeah.
Well, you saw who was starting out there today. You saw Mike Hughes was starting opposite of AJ Terrell. Richie Grant was back in that start. And I know it's the first day of training camp, can't put too much into it, but I think it does give you an idea. Like, they're going to get the first cracks. I mean, Mike Hughes, career back? I mean, not a starting caliber corner in this league.
He's a fourth cornerback in this league.
Richie Grant has done nothing but blown coverage ever since he was drafted. And maybe those guys don't end up starting, but does it not? I mean, and Alex has said it so many times over the offseason, and we haven't talked in a while, but does it not surprise you they haven't gone out there and just added some depth to this, specifically the secondary? Just get something back there, because right now you got a bunch of guys who may not even really belong on the field, and they're going to be starting.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is how much faith Raheem Morris has in Jimmy Lake, especially in the secondary.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody talks about the size of a mustard seed, Bo. The size of a mustard seed. Everybody talks about everything Jimmy Lake did in Washington. He talk about all the guys that he put in the league. Between the
Kevin King, one of them.
Murphys. Yeah, that's it. That Caleb King years ago.
Yep.
But
guy hasn't played, and he might be on our roster. That's what I mean. Like, listen, that's what I'm saying. This, if you just like squint one eye and look at the Falcons roster, you're like, that offense can, if everything clicks, Zach Robinson is all he chalked. Everybody's chalking up Zach Robinson to be. That offense can win a Super Bowl. I'm not like being an idiot, like just being a Falcons homer. That offense can win a Super Bowl. And then you look at the defense and they're like, oh, they're rebuilding. It's okay. It's like, what are we like that? Jimmy Lake and Raheem Morris are going to have to work some magic on that side of the ball.
Magic.
I mean, it could, and it's not even about the starters. Like, or it is. It is. But listen, like, let's just, paint a picture that AJ Terrell, Mike Hughes or Clark Phillips or D. Alford, one of those two is starting with AJ Terrell. AJ Terrell goes down for a couple of games. I mean, he's had issues with some soft tissue stuff. Injuries are inevitable in this game. I mean, football's a hard sport. AJ Terrell goes down for a couple of games, but we're trotting out the JV team with playoff aspirations. I don't understand how, like a Stephon Gilmore, he's still out there.
He's still out there.
Justin Simmons.
Yeah.
Justin Simmons still out there begging. Jamal Adams, he just got picked up, and I don't know
anybody.
I don't know if Jamal Adams would have fit our scheme, but I'd be doggone. Like somebody, because just like I mentioned, Richie Grant, we know that he was the fan unfavorite last year. He was out there getting his draws burnt off. We don't know what DeMarco Helms is gonna do. So it's like, daggone, like what, and we're gonna put Abernathy in there. I'm seriously questioning like who's going to be the guys if something were to happen to AJ.
Because I have some buddies that, my old roommate used to play on Alabama football. And I remember when we drafted DeMarco Helms, and I was like, any good? Like, I don't really know much about the guy. And he was like, absolute crap. And then next thing you know, he's starting for the Atlanta Falcons. Like,
but he did some good things.
Well. Like, don't get me wrong.
Things.
And listen, guys develop at different rates. It's never linear, whether from the college or the pros ranks. I'm just saying, like, this is a 7th round draft pick that not a lot of people had high hopes for, that was supplanting Richie Grant. I want to leave you with one last question here, because you mentioned Jimmy Lake and you talked about, how much trust Raheem Morris must have him. And I think Raheem Morris is going to be heavily involved in that side of the ball. What are your thoughts on Jimmy Lake? There's not a lot out there on Jimmy Lake. I mean, he's never been an NFL defensive coordinator. Like, he's got big shoes to fill, right? Like Ryan Nielsen, he did fantastic for what the Falcons had talent-wise a year ago, especially when Grady Jarrett was healthy. And this defense doesn't look great on paper, but with a good defensive coordinator, we're kind of still expecting to be at least average. And if you can be average, you can win games. What are your thoughts on Jimmy Lake?
I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. As y'all know, I've been going all over the country with my little cousin who's been recruited to play, college football. And one thing hey, all I can tell you is tune in on Saturday.
Okay, I'll be there. Hey, Baton Rouge is a nice place, buddy. We could use it.
What I can say is that Will Harris, the DB's coach at Florida, Tim Banks, the defensive coordinator at Tennessee, Coach Tavares Robinson, the DB's coach at Georgia, who was at Alabama. Like all of these guys talk about how good Jimmy Lake is.
Ooh,
all of them talk about how he gets as much as he can get from his players and help elevate those players. So look, we know what Raheem Morris had last year on defense. The only bright spot that he had in that black hole was a Mr. Aaron Donald. So moving forward, I feel like this defense might be a little bit more talented than that Rams defense last year, who was middle of the road. So I mean, if you put those guys together along with Coach Gray, I mean, maybe they might work some magic. That same magic,
if
might be a David Copperfield.
If that defense
that was a great little inside information that you're not going to find anywhere else, right?
If that defense can be average, we're going to be cooking. We're going to be cooking. I mean, because this offense is going to be scoring. I don't want to say something crazy like the best offense in the league because things fluctuate, obviously. Injuries happen. It's going to be a top 10 offense, maybe top 5.
I mean, hey,
we just need an average defense.
Sundays in September can't get here fast enough. Big Low, thanks so much for joining us. We always appreciate your time. Looking forward to catch up throughout the season and leading up to the season, man.
Definitely, man. What in the world, Bo?